Welcome to
Welcome.
Angel.
That was a
This
short
is our
intro.
first time using an intro video. Sorry, guys. That was
Yeah.
just completely our fault. Welcome to the
Yep.
Book of
Welcome to
Silence.
this episode of the Book Assignment Podcast. Today we got a special treat for you guys. We're gonna get into the minds of the editors, and we have a couple of wonderful editors on our side today. We have Doc Freed, or I might say Doc Fried, because that's the way it's said.
Because that's what it's spelled.
And we have the wonderful Wendy Durison with us. And ladies, how are you doing today? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Great. Snowed in.
So I'm going to start with the first question. I'm going to just throw it out there for you guys. How did you get into editing?
By accident.
Oh, okay.
I'm a beta reader, and I was trolling through some of the groups, and I just threw out there, hey, if anybody needs a beta reader, I'm available. And an author contacted me and said, hey, I need a beta reader. He did not need a beta reader. He needed help.
Yeah.
He introduced me to his publisher, and it's been great. It's been great. It's been a wonderful ride.
Awesome. How about you, Doc? How did you get started?
I started beta reading for a couple people kept sending me books. It was free books for me. I'm cheap. I don't like to buy books. I'm frugal, I guess, on that. But I started reading and saying, "Yep, here's your mistakes," and they were all shocked because they just thought we were going to read it through and tell them if it was good or bad. And I was like editing the whole book all the way through, thinking, "Okay, that's what a good beta reader does, right?" And I said, I apologize. I would have spent more time on it, but I only have X number of hours to do it because I didn't fully edit it. And several other people kept sending me books, and then I started editing all of Jeff's books, and I guess alpha read a bunch of others and edit others. Scott Baker's books I go through for him, and a couple of the other apocalypse writers. And hey, I have fun doing it. It's great. And it's funny because they read so fast now because I'm so interested in the stories, and I can rip them apart and say things like, such and such did this in that book, so you really shouldn't do it. It's the same story, and because I've read so many different ones because I love reading. And
yes,
it's just fun.
I agree. I love to read.
Yeah, I was wondering, how was your schooling? Did you even like English in school? Because I personally, I didn't really like it per se, but. And I'm not an editor by any means, but Wendy edits my books, and that poor woman. It's apparent that I didn't pay attention in English class.
English was one of my favorite, along with history. I didn't get science until my senior year in high school. But I love to read. My grandmother introduced me to reading when I was very, very young. So, in the last few years, I would read books, and some of them I would have to stop because they were just atrocious to read.
Yep.
The spelling, the slang, the grammar, the punctuation, I
don't mind slang. It's when the spelling and the punctuation, and you got to, for those of you who haven't picked up on it yet, I'm dual citizenship with Australia. So I understand the Queen's English. So it isn't a matter if you're doing the Queen's English or Yank English or whatever, you just aren't, an editor edits a book. We're not rewriting your whole story for you. Hopefully.
We're not supposed to be anyway.
That's right.
you've got to send us something that's like 3/4 there for us to work with, not something that's 5% there and say, "Oh, go fix it," and I'll give you a few dollars for it.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm writing the story then, and I'll make all the money off of it. There's millions of dollars each of you make off of each book you publish. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting
Yeah.
on my millions.
I'm waiting to.
Yeah.
I was told my check was in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazon always says that,
They do.
Right. And there was always a golden rule that I learned when I got into first publishing. Never send in your first draft. Never.
No.
That's the golden rule.
Yeah, send me your third or fourth draft. At that point,
Yeah.
you have some
So
kind
that's
of
where I'm messing up.
Oh, I need to do some self-editing, you gotta be able to self-edit a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So-
and see, I published papers. I was a university professor for 30 years, so I published papers and things like that. So I really understand things. That's why the other day when he was asking about the comma, you're supposed to have a name, comma, then and the final name is what
The
he was
Oxford
asking about.
comma?
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, okay, fine. Yep, I do that. But that's because
So I got an editing question for you guys. Oxford comma, do you like it or not?
I'm just used to putting a comma before the and. I mean, that's just what
same
I'm
here.
always on. So
Wendy?
I do it both ways. To me, it depends on if the comma actually makes sense where it is.
Okay.
see, I'm so old school that I probably use. I mean, today people don't use as many commas, and I'm old school, and it's like, no, guys, you've got to have a comma here.
Yeah.
Oh, my comma Nazi.
Yeah, I tend to be my doc, actually. I tend to use my Oxford commas quite a bit.
Yeah, in lists, I'm talking about in lists. If it makes sense in the list, that's where I put it. Now, as far as in speaking, grammar, other things, it's got to make sense. I did get lost in commas a couple of weeks ago. I could not figure out a comma for my life. So well, sometimes the manuscript you get has so many commas in it or not enough commas in it. And you're like, so I went and I re-educated myself on commas. So now I'm past that and I've got it. But sometimes,
it depends on what's being written and it can change the entire context of what the sentence is, depending on the placement or lack of placement of a comma. And so you have to read it. It's like some of the signs that you see posted up on the funny meme signs on Facebook.
Right.
You need a comma there because otherwise you're actually eating people as opposed to, no eating,
Yes,
whatever.
I know.
You know what you've seen the memes.
Yeah.
So you really have to look at some of these things a couple times to figure out what some of these authors really mean, but particularly in zombie books, because they may be talking about eating people. Not just people eating. I mean,
That's
think
true.
about it. Even in survivalist ones, are we eating people or are we just eating people?
It could be both.
Yeah, it could be both, huh?
I get tickled at some of them because I have a very vivid imagination, and I kind of Twitter at some of the things that are said. I'm like, I hope that's not what you meant to say.
You never know, Wendy.
And then I'll put a little comment on there.
Did
You might want to look at this sentence again because I'm not sure where you're going here. You might take me on a trip I didn't plan.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your guys' major pet peeve? I mean, I'm sure there are tons of them. I'm positive of that. I mean, obviously we heard a couple, comma usage, grammar, spelling, the basics, and even expecting you guys to rewrite the whole book. That's, I would think, a big one. What's one that hasn't been said that is something that you're just like, oh my God?
Overuse of certain words.
Mm.
Then
Do you have a no list?
I do not have a no list because it's per author. Then and but they have their uses, but you don't need to use them in every sentence.
Yeah.
I like to use really, actually, definitely stuff like that. That's unnecessary.
Right. It's just some words are so overused that you read it and you're like, why?
Yeah. Don't you have a thesaurus?
Yeah, I'm like, thesaurus.com is a thing.
I mean, that's
What's
our
that?
job. Writers don't have thesauruses. That's our job, is to look it up and come up with another word. You use this word landfill 5 times in that one short paragraph. And so you have to go find something else for landfill so that you can change some of them so it makes sense, and you're not seeing every single sentence say landfill. Then he went to the landfill. Then he looked at the landfill. Then he stepped into the landfill. Then he, things like that. Well, but that's an editor's job.
See, I make sure that I have a thesaurus.
Stuff like that and fix it.
Yeah.
I even downloaded. I downloaded Merriam-Webster's on my phone, and I use it often.
You're unusual. I don't know what you've seen, Wendy, but I'll tell you, you're unusual because I fix a lot of things like that.
I do. I fix a lot of it, and but when they're talking about steps, and that it's a process, they don't have to say she went in, then she turned on the light, then she turned around, then she saw the murderer standing in the corner. It's she walked in, turned on the light, turned around, and saw the murderer in the corner.
Right.
Commas would work there.
Yes. Yeah. Commas,
and periods, and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Whole new ways of writing a sentence.
Some of the things I've read, just like with commas, it's like sprinkle them like confetti, and you're wading through it. And I'm writing a notice or a letter. It's turning into a novel now. To some of my authors, you could actually do this, or maybe you want to look at this or watch out for that, and some of them accept that. And it's really not a mean critique. It's like, I notice you're really doing this, but you could do it like this. Let me give you an example. Whereas some of them don't want to hear it. I wrote it. That's how it is. Deal.
Fix it. Yeah.
Well, then what's the point of even hiring an editor?
Well, exactly. so that we can fix it. I mean, everyone I fix.
How dare you, Doc?
Stuff like that.
What are you thinking?
You're paying me to fix it, so
what do you get paid $3 for?
Yeah.
I don't mind fixing it. I enjoy what I do. I really like editing. I love reading the books. I love getting involved in the characters. But there are some things that if you don't want me to be stuck in your book for an overly amount of time and you're wanting it to get out, you need to make a little bit more effort to help me get out. I can't give you a 1 week turnaround on something that's going to take me weeks to wade through and fix, so mainly it's just, make use of some of the apps that are out there to help cut down on that.
And that brings me to my question.
All the time.
That actually brings me to my next question is, do you like apps like Grammarly? I don't even know what else is out there because I use Grammarly.
Co-Writing Aid is a good one I've been using lately. Co-Writing Aid is, I think, even better than Grammarly.
So do you like those kind of apps, or do you appreciate them? Do they help you? Do they make it more difficult?
I don't know if it makes any difference. I think it's the writing style and what people are willing to give you. I've had people send me stuff that was clearly done by an AI. And it's like, you could not possibly have written this. And I told one person, you didn't possibly write this whole thing by yourself because the writings are so different. And I fed it into AI and I said, what was your response? And they go, we wrote this. So here are the sections that are AI. This is an AI book.
Yeah, but if you're using AI to write a book, are you really writing the book?
Yeah.
And I think.
And it didn't piece together. It's like, you've got to piece it together at least and make it yours, because this isn't yours anymore. This is
Right.
This is Chat GPT. At this point, I know all the AIs pretty well because I'm still teaching at the university. So I know AI really well now. It's like, yeah, that student didn't write this. And this author, yeah, this is an AI response. It's too good. And I find the flaws in it because AI has so many, the Chat GPT, all the AIs have flaws in them now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's basically like Wiki. We wrote it and it's just picking up on everything we said, and it's not always right. So they'll start writing about these things. It's like, that came from an AI and this is wrong. I fact check. That's
yeah.
You got to fact check.
Yeah, you kind of have to these days because there's some nested scoopiness authors trying to pass off AI books as their own. I don't know any of them, but I know they're out there.
You probably do know one or two, Angel.
I don't.
So you're friendless, so I am pretty sure.
Dang.
Well, I use Grammarly, and I use my software program spell check and grammar corrector, but I don't just accept what they say. I look at it and I say, okay, does it make sense here? Is this really what I need here? But I also know that you need a person to read it because you're not making books for AI or a robot or a computer to read. So you need a eye in there. But the programs, Grammarly, Writing Pro or ProWrite, I forgot what you said, and even just what the software that you're writing in offers can help erase a lot of mistakes, because even though they don't catch everything, they catch a lot of it and can help clean that manuscript up to a point where it's easier on your editor to get through it rather than having to go back and forth trying to make these corrections and to get things to mesh better and to flow well. So yeah, I agree. There are apps you can use that are not AI. I've been seeing a lot of discussions on the AI, and I totally get it. Why some people would do it. In fact, I saw a comment a couple of days ago that one guy was relying on AI to edit his book. And I just went, you're doing what?
That's a little weird.
And there are so many comments on there. I go back and check it, just thinking he's going to pop back in, or she's going to pop back in and say, oh, I'm just kidding. It's a prank, whatever. And so far, it is not a prank. And I'm thinking, do you not understand traditional publishers and all this? And you can get your own editor. Great. I do side work, but you need that human element in there to make sure that humans are going to read it and accept it. And you have to read it as your reader would to make sure that they're engaged and that they're going to stay with your book after chapter 1. Because you want those 5-star reviews. We want you to have those 5-star reviews. That's why we work as hard as we do on the books.
Yep.
Because that makes us look good too.
I was going to say, it also helps you.
Yes.
More side work, more side hustle.
Right.
So what is it, Wendy, have you found that maybe one program is better than the other, or it doesn't matter?
As in the grammar.
I'm sorry. Yeah, as in like Grammarly or I know because you and I seem to use the same couple ones. I didn't know if maybe you had any experience with any other ones.
Well, I don't. I don't have any experience with any of the other ones. I notice that they will pick up on different things sometimes, and they catch a lot of the same things a lot of the time. As far as other ones, we are looking at trying some other programs to see if it'll, kind of help it along a little bit. But as far as one over the other, I think it's personal preference.
Okay.
What you're looking for, how much you're willing to pay after you've used the free program.
Right.
If you're willing to pay that much more for more, excuse me. I talk with my hands a lot. Y'all don't see it because I've got it down here. But for more advantages, more depth into the program. It's just personal preference to my opinion.
And Doc, how do you feel?
I've just been writing for so long that I don't actually even use Grammarly. I've recommended it to my students. But I know English. I know proper grammar. Yeah. And I guess it goes back to it might even go back to the educational system that existed in the 50s, that I learned differently. And once you learned, once those nuns hit your hands a couple times with the ruler, you learn things real fast.
Sure.
And it's just ingrained. I go out and have to look up stuff on Google occasionally. It's like, that doesn't quite look right, or like the right use, or where should that comma be, or what should that punctuation actually be, a semicolon or a colon or whatever. And so I'll look it up on Google, but to me, it's so second nature at this point. I've published so many papers myself that, when you submit things to magazines, to professional magazines, they have to be all edited before they go in. So they've got to be in great shape or they're not going to accept it.
Now, I got a question for you guys. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Chicago Manual of Style. You guys still read it? Because I've been reading it lately, and I've been trying to study editing myself. So I heard it's a really good resource for editors. So how do you feel about that?
It's a good resource. I do, like I said, I'm just so used. It's one of the things you learned back when I was originally in university. And again, it's a product before I think many of you were even born, of the 60s. Where you in 70s, where you learned these things, and that's how you learned to write. And it's the same thing. Like, I learned APA citing decades ago, and I can sit down and go through somebody's, professional paper, student's paper with citing in it, and like, nope, that's not right. That's not right. I can do it in like half a minute. And they're like, how did you do that? It's like, it's second nature. I've been doing it for so long. I know how these things are supposed to be. And as a book editor for fiction, you have to go through as well and read to make sure it still flows for the reader. Because what might look right, if I'm submitting it for a professional paper, might be really boring, or there may be too many commas, as Wendy said earlier. There might be too many little short sentences or too many long run-on sentences. You need to be able to grab the reader, because it's somebody reading it and saying, and what happens next? Yes, yes. Oh, that's the response you want from the reader. Right, Wendy?
Yeah.
Yes. They, as you say, the run-on sentences, I get run-on paragraphs. I've had paragraphs that go 3 pages, as in an 8 by 10 page. And while I can see why the paragraph is so long, because the the action is there and they just don't want to take a break, you say, no, you've got to have a break here and you've got to have a break here. And then you go back and read it and you're like, oh yeah, that's how it is. But then I get involved in the books when I read them. I get into them, and DJ and I were talking about one of the books I just finished, and I said, look, so and so is in a bind. I've got to go. Go save your character.
Yeah, it sounded like there was a horse in a bed there, or a horse's head in a bed.
I didn't see
Yeah,
that,
I heard The Godfather too.
Yeah.
I don't see horse heads, but I had to go help him save the day. And as far as plot holes, I have found plot holes for some of my my authors. Sorry, my brain just blew a gasket. And you do have to, I look for that while I'm reading. I look for a person that is in two places at the same time. I look at, as in a series of books, I had to ask an author, why do you have this same person dying in 5 books?
Mm-hmm.
Are these different people with the same name, or is this the same character dying?
Were they cloned like Angel Ramon?
Yes,
Actually, it was the same character dying over and over again. The author just didn't realize that they had already killed the character off. So she, I'll let it slip. She had to go back and kill different people, different minor characters. But you have to be dedicated to find these kind of things, especially when you're 7, 10, 12 books in. And I was just making sure my arm could go that long. Okay. And then you say, wait a minute. You killed this person here. You killed this person here. You killed this person here. And now you're blowing them up. Are they finally dead? So, yeah, you have to look for things like that. And sometimes you have a character doing this thing and you're like, you had them doing this last paragraph. How did we get to here?
Yeah. Whether in different cities or it's, and there's some things, and particularly with male writers, and they'll attribute things to women like, oh, you're 5 months pregnant. You've got a bachelor's in nursing. You're an emergency room nurse, and you never realized you missed your menses for 5 months.
Yikes.
There's there's some things. It's like, no, dude, they would have realized. I don't care what the circumstances of the apocalypse. At some point, they would have said, oh, wait a minute. I haven't had to use product for 5 months.
Right.
It hits home.
Maybe I should take a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
Things
like that. But there's things about women that men don't think about, and there's things about men that the women writers don't always think about. Like, let me run that past a guy or two I know, because I don't think that's what. No. No. Yeah. So I find that inconsistency a lot. And again, as Wendy mentioned, when there are multiple books in this series, it's like, no, they were actually in this spot, or you killed them off, or you dropped them in the middle of nowhere, or you just sort of left. You've got to go back and look for consistency.
Right.
For reality, for truth, because so many of what the authors write are based in somewhere in fact. There's some existing myth, there's some existing truth to say what the Nazis were doing, that some of this is true, and you've got to know, as an editor, you should know where this ties in, so you can say, yeah, no, guys, we got to fix this. This is wrong. Someone's going to call you on it.
Right.
So I guess that would lead me into, kind of what do you look at to make the story flow? And Doc, since you were just talking about it, let's start with you.
I try and keep up enough action in each chapter to make it interesting. I know, like with Jeff's book, sometimes I had to say, nope, you've got to split this and split this. It's just too much. We're too high. I'm too tense the entire time. And you got to bring us down a little because we're not even close to the end yet. And unless you're going to keep up that level of having my core so tense as to what's happening all the way through the rest, no, you're going to have to split it. Bring me down a little and then bring me back up and bring me, you sort of have to have it. It doesn't have to necessarily build up, but it has to. Don't bring me up to the high peak and then bring me down. And it's like, all right, so there's not going to be anything till the end. And I've got 10 more chapters to go. The heck with it. Let me just read the last chapter. Because there's X amount of excitement in every single book. And if they use it up too soon, then you're in trouble.
Right. So far, I haven't seen a lot of pacing problems, but I have read books where I'm like, why do you have so much buildup? Why are you using 2 chapters to build up for a 3-paragraph explosion? And I do call them on that. You need to get here quicker. You need to figure out the puzzle quicker. You need to get to where you're going quicker. We don't need to know about how many trees or how many this or how many that. If you're having a battle, we don't need to know you have 15,000 troops exactly. We need to know thousands of troops went. We don't need to know at the end of the battle how many were left alive. We need to know that very few came back. Maybe from time to time mention they sent out 50,000 troops and less than half came back. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Over describing will slow it down a lot, and they need to make, like I said, get there faster. Make your sentences hit harder, and then once you get there, start bringing them down gradually, so that also your reader can come down gradually too. They leave the battle and they go, they go cool off. They all go in different directions just to get their mind back straight so that they can complete the next task. Some people have a hard time getting there. And I don't understand why. And that's why you have editors to say, okay, you need to cut this out because it doesn't work. We need to step it up to get to this. You're taking too long to get there.
Yeah, and I wondered, because it seems like to me, I have like a problem getting that, knowing when too much is too much for the buildup, when, am I not giving enough? So I guess, that is helpful to know that, when, especially from an editor, hey, you need to move this along because you're taking too long and you're going to lose the reader. And that's one thing you don't want to do, because I personally have been lost in books where I'm just like, oh my God.
Right.
Can we just get there?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I really don't like about, the books. And if I'm getting lost, or if I'm not like realizing where over descriptiveness and things that I have no clue about, like anything in another country, it sometimes is really hard for me to jive with that, because I don't know where you're talking about if you're giving me landmarks.
Right.
So I guess my follow-up question with that would be, Wendy, how you can go ahead and start first. How would you, maybe talk someone out of, if you had someone who had a book from another country or was based in another country, do you talk them out of the landmarks, or do you talk them into just landmarks that are well known? How do you fix that where you don't want to lose the reader because they're not going to know where the hell this shit is?
Hush. I would say I did an edit on a book for a person from another country not long ago. And she did not use a lot of major landmarks. She was really mostly non-descriptive of the background and anything like that. Her focus was on the story, on what the action was, what was going on. Now, she did have some landmarks in there that were necessary for when she had her characters going to other countries, like I don't know, say the Louvre or say the Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
She did have those landmarks in there, so you kind of have an idea of where they are, but it wasn't a big part of the story. It wasn't an anchoring. It was just, it was there. It was in that area and moved on. But either be descriptive about where you are or be focused on what's going on so that that doesn't matter to anything other than, okay, they were near the Vatican when this happened. They were driving through London when that happened. You don't have to say they were driving by the fictional side of Harry Potter's 9 3/4 platform. You don't have to say that. Just, they were driving through London to get over here to rescue whatever. Landmarks can be good, especially in post-apocalyptic, because it gives you an idea of where they are going and where they have been. But it's not, to me, it's not necessary to have a big landmark in everything when all the action is taking place and doesn't need that. You see what I'm saying? Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. See, and of course, having worked with Jeff, who has landmarks everywhere, sometimes it's part of their writing style, and it's part of who they are because that's how they visualize the scene. So I actually do the research on it, but then I've visited I have visited every country in the world, or at least those that existed 20 years ago, before Russia broke up. So for me, I've been to these spots. So it's like, okay, let me figure out where it is. And you haul out a map and haul it up on computers nowadays, obviously. And you go for it. So I'm not truly troubled by that. To me, that's just part of editing to make sure, as I said, like with Jeff, that the streets really went into each other. It just depends on what you're reading and what they're editing and or how they're using it. I don't want to take away from the writer's style because each one's style is what makes them fascinating.
Good point.
Yeah, it's what distinguishes the same basic, say, zombie story from writer A to writer B to writer C to writer D. Because let's face it, almost all the zombies out there are human beings that have died and come back and they want to eat something off of you, your brains, your heart, your organ, whatever the writer has them eating. So, go with it. Whatever makes you feel more comfortable in your story. In my case, I feel it's fine, whatever. But don't get too hung up on directions. Just let me, tell me we're heading down, Route 66. Hey, that's cool. But don't say, Route 66, 1 mile outside of Phoenix, or I guess Tucson, or Phoenix, or Albuquerque, actually.
Because I mean, honestly, I'll be lost. I don't even know. I barely know what 3 feet is.
On the other hand, there's a whole group of people, though, that actually read it and now they feel like they've been there. I mean, I go to some of these cities now and it's like, next time I go to Hawaii, which will be probably in about a year, I'm actually going to go try and drive some of these roads now because it's like, hey, I know where these go. And some of them I've actually driven. And some of the stories that other people have written, I've actually ridden those roads. One of the people whose writings I love writes a lot that's based in Houston, and they'll be talking about it. It's like, I know that road, I know that highway, and so now you're in the story. You're part of the story, and if you can really get that feeling, that's really cool. I don't have to know that I'm at mile marker 1 on that road and, or something, but hey, I know that Route 66 outside of, headed toward wherever, Arizona or something. I've done that Route 66 drive. I've done that I-95 drive, and you guys are up back east, or I-75 or whatever back there. You feel like you're part of it. I've done the Beltway around DC sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering how much description was too much. So,
Right. So I got another question for you guys, and it kind of pertains to me because when I started writing, I know I used to use a lot of adverbs. So I wanted to ask you guys: have you ever read a story with too many adverbs? And if you have, what will you do to go around, the use of adverbs, especially weak ones?
There's something called a thesaurus. There's synonyms. There's how about let's make a new sentence? And how about if we have this new idea we introduced to use up words? I know your company told you that you need to have 20,000 words or 50,000 words or 100,000. Here's a great idea. Why don't you write a couple pages on this idea, and then we can get rid of some of this fluff, because that's what it is.
And make the adverb match the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't like randoms?
I can't think of any specific examples right now, but every time a person speaks, they don't have to be intensely or vehemently or quietly or some of the other, you're not going to be yelling something if you're having conversation unless you're excited, So we're talking here. So, Wendy yelled at Doc, "Hi, how are you doing?" I didn't yell. I just spoke to you,
And you did not say it excitedly or anything.
I just said hello because I haven't met you yet. So I don't know how you would take a greeting. So I just say hello. And now later on, I'm going to go, hey, you have to have it match the same way you have to have your fonts matching. You want to match what you're saying, so the adverb you're using. I'm not going to sit here and just talk in a dull tone and use that to be excitedly, because that's not excitedly. That's dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever, and we'll start with Wendy. Have you ever read a book that was so intense that you needed a nap? Just constant go, 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 go. You were on 10 the whole time. Have you ever read, or one that was so boring that you just couldn't? You probably have more boring stories than anything else, but have you just ever had that book?
I've had both. The boring ones, I stop right where I am and I don't read any further. The exciting ones, I have to put down and walk away from for a few minutes. And you don't want to wind your readers up that tight because you don't want them to put the book down. You want them to read it and then want to get the next book to find out what happens next. But like you said earlier, if you've always got your people on a high, they've got to have a break sometime, because once they crash, they may crash and say, I can't read that author anymore.
Yeah.
It's too much. But I have had both types of books.
Yeah, it can be far too. It's like some movies. I've got to stop this. It's too intense for me right now. I'm going to be up all night if I watch it, and I got to work at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or whatever in the morning. It's just not happening. You've got to have ups and downs. On the other hand, you also have to have enough excitement to hold their interest through. I want people to be able to say, gosh, I wish I could sit here and finish this book tonight. I don't want to put it down. I want to finish it. They may not be able to, but they may have to put it down and wait till the next night and things like that. But yeah, And I want them to feel that all the way through. And I've had some authors who at the end of the book, to me, the endings are almost flat because they're like, well, I can't kill a whole heap of women and children. Why not?
Like hell you can't.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
sure.
know these are all the good guys, but
I read your
maybe
book.
maybe we need to kill some. It's just like, we should have killed them. Killed more of them at least.
Every once in a while you gotta kill the dog.
No. Well, yeah, you kill the dog. You cannot kill a kitty cat. Do not give me anything where they've killed the cat. Nope.
No cats. Oh, okay. You're a cat person.
I'm a cat person, so you can't kill a cat. And I'm pretty upset about killing horses. I like them as well. I almost didn't make it to the second episode of Walking Dead because of the horse.
They killed the horse. You probably didn't do well when they had to barbecue the dogs either, did you?
I didn't mind that.
I
don't mind dogs so much. It was the cat.
Well, let me ask you, Doc, when you get some of these manuscripts in, do they come in as I mentioned earlier, different fonts, or have the authors gone through and made sure it's all in one font? Or
no, constantly. It's like, is there a reason why this is like 14 points and something? And I'll just send them a message. It's like, I mean, once in a while, I've actually gotten something back and said, well, I wanted to emphasize this. No, then let's maybe think of a different way of emphasizing it, or putting it in italics, or just something else, because you've jumped fonts, you've jumped size. I mean, it'll be like everything's 12 point and suddenly it's 16 point for like 2 pages. It's like, why are you doing this? Or is this just a mistake because you were doing something else and it slid, you didn't change your font back. So yeah, all the time.
Do you ever recommend that they write in a particular font at a particular point to make it easier to read, or do you change it once you get it?
I don't recommend anything. I try and go through with what they have. And if I don't like what they're using, and it isn't a relatively standard font, if they're doing, wingdings or something like that, it'll be like, maybe we should go to Tahoma or Georgia or Courier, or, just something that's more. I can't read papyrus and wingdings very well.
Or Comic Sans.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So make it easy on the eyes, because some of our eyes are just not that young.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. I guess maybe it's from going to college and, you have to write, whether it's MLA or APA, you have to write 12-point font. That's all there is to it. That's what I've always used. And I guess I never really thought about it. Didn't know if there was a specific formatting that you guys were looking for, in your manuscripts. And Doc, you said you didn't care. So Wendy, what about you?
I just like it to be something I can read, something I can see. My eyes are not as young as they were, as I said earlier, and I do magnify it, up higher, but I really don't have a preference. Just make sure that it's readable.
Legible.
Yeah. Legible, readable. Any of those is fine. Just no wingdings or party script, and definitely not script, because after a while you get lost in that. Make sure it is not script. Italics are fine. Sometimes when I'm editing, I'll go through and add italics in when it's something that's really needs to be driven in. Or I'll suggest it rather. But it's I really don't have a preference. So
okay. And we had a Facebook user question. What are your thoughts about the self-editing platform AutoCrit? It's something that I'm experimenting with currently. God, I wish I could read. I guess I've never heard of AutoCrit. I don't know if you guys have.
Thank you. Thank you, Annan. That's Annan Chessman.
I just saw that. It was
Yeah.
like, oops, comments aren't showing who I am. It's Alan V. Chessman.
Oh,
Hi,
Hi,
Alan.
Alan.
So I don't
You
know if
know,
you guys have experience with autocrit, Doc.
yeah, I mean, I've taken a look at it because my students have said, well, what do you think about this? And I'm like, interesting. Again, for basic things, stuff like that can be really good. But what you lose off of that, off of using Wendy or using me or another editor, is you lose that human connection. You lose that. I'm a human being. I'm not a machine. I'm not an AI. I'm not mechanical. I have actual feelings and hopes and emotions and sympathy and empathy. And that's what you lose with autocrit. If you're publishing your first book and you want to try autocrit so that you can get it published and go cheaper, not that editors are necessarily expensive, but you want to do it that way, cool. But you lose that emotion that you're going to get off of a reader.
So is this like another AI kind of a thing? Is it?
Yeah. Speaking of that, Doc, I have that. It leads me to the question I was going to ask. Do you guys fear that AI will eventually replace editors? Do you think that will ever happen?
Yeah.
AI would have to get a lot better.
Yeah.
AI needs a life.
Fair enough.
In order to replace editors.
I agree.
Yeah, because you do, as Doc said, lose that human contact. Sometimes you need as a writer to talk to your editor and pull your hair out and scream, and your editor just does this and then says, okay, now here's what we need to do. And you can't do that with AI because AI doesn't care if you succeed. Mm-hmm. You're human people, as if there's other they care. We want you to succeed because we want other people to read your books because we think they're fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think readers will pick up if something is written by AI. I have a belief that readers aren't stupid. They can tell when someone puts their emotion into a story over when it's been written by a machine. I really believe that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And your Facebook user said he was planning to use it and then send it to an editor.
Oh, I mean, that's different then.
Can be a great tool to start out with, I guess. If you've done your best and polished it, you might want to send it to, I'm point blank. If it's not ready to go to an editor, I'll give you a sample of what I can do by correcting everything and telling you go back and put a lot of time into it. On a chapter. I won't do the whole book. I'm not writing your book for you, dude. But if you've actually got a good draft, not a first draft, but maybe a second or third where it's pretty much congealed into what it's supposed to be, editors will save you the autocrit part of it. If you want to take it from a first draft, try autocrit. And then I still recommend you let somebody take another really good look at it.
Look, it goes Anne is saying, our story is 1,000% written by humans. It's good to know.
He thinks he is because Captcha said he was. So we're still questioning.
Captcha right there.
Oh,
I love Alan. He's so
I'll take his word for it. I've known Annie since 2017. I'll take his word for it.
I mean, we did have him on the show. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that could save you a lot of money because then you're not paying for, Wendy to spend, I don't know, 80 hours, going through it. We're only spending 10 hours going through and editing it. So that's another way. I don't know what autocrit is costing you. That's another way to think about it. It makes the job of the editor much more refined, and we can just say, okay, do this, do that. Maybe you should think about adding this. Maybe you should think about adding that, maybe you should build up this energy. It lets us do the human part, but it gets rid of a lot of the stuff like all the commas that need to go in where they really need to go in, and things like that.
Right.
Which that's great, because it leads me to my next question. What do editors expect? I guess maybe time frame wise. What do you guys expect when you're getting a manuscript? Do you like set aside a specific block of time for this particular manuscript? You've never read from this person before, because I know, Doc, you've read Jeff's and you can pretty much guess how much time you're going to spend on each of his books. And Wendy, you've done mine, and you know how much time you're going to have to spend on my books, whether it's 10 hours or 40, So do you, for a brand new person that is just dropping a manuscript to you, how long do you anticipate before they can start bugging you? Hey, what did you think?
At least give me a week. At least give me
7
that.
days. Do I hear 5? No, just
But, I'm also available for them to talk to me and say, hey, where's it? How's it going? And I don't mind also saying, hey, this is going to take me longer than I thought. Bear with me. Check back with me in a few days, or I'll get back to you in a couple of days and let you know where I am.
Okay. Doc?
It sort of depends, because a lot of people just send me a manuscript and say, I need this by the 1st of March. I mean, Scott does that to me all the time. And it's like, okay. And I'll find sometime, usually a week before or something, 2 weeks before, depending on my time,
Right.
and fit it in. And I'll sit down and do it over a 2 or 3 day period. And I'll send you what I've done. And I do it in Word, so you can see all the notations I've made. You can see all the comments I've made. Gives them a chance to go back and, oh, here's a new chapter 5. This is, I think, is going to be heaps better. It's like, great. But I try and do it over, a few day period once I start it. Most people don't just say, oh, here's 50,000 words. I want it back in 3 days. It's like, yeah.
Mama mia.
Dream on. Not gonna do it. It might happen. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, if somebody had given me something Thursday, I'd be working on it yesterday and today. So hey, it would be done.
Right.
But you have another job. This isn't your full-time gig.
Yeah.
Wendy,
This is mine. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, so
okay.
I can do it as little or as often as I want to. But
That's
with
nice.
my love of reading, I get up in the morning, check my emails, flip open my computer, and go.
I like it.
All right. So, we're about to run out of time here. So, actually, we have a comment here by Annan. So, yeah, we can answer this question. Do you prefer to do developmental editing or complete manuscript editing?
Developmental.
Developmental, okay.
Well, or manuscript. I mean, I like to be in at the ground floor, because when you start sending them back stuff after a couple of chapters, it may change part of the direction of where the book's going. It's like, hey guys, like, this is, you need to think about this and this and this and this, and you haven't thought about it. You've just jumped into this situation and you've set them up, and you have to have a backstory on that. And it helps the writer, because suddenly, oh, hey, there's 3 more chapters I get to write. And they're not worrying quite so much about the word crunch that way. I mean, that's my feeling.
Okay.
I feel like my style is all of it. I look at all of it.
So completely, just the complete package.
Pretty much. Now there may be some difference of opinion, but I like to look at everything right down to the last period.
Wendy is the complete package.
There we go. That's good to know. That'll be good.
And I'm not just saying that because she's my editor.
Thank
Little
you.
prejudice there. Come on.
No, Doc, because you're about to be for one of my books too. So.
I know. I'm waiting for it. I can't wait. I can't wait.
So we're like literally at time. So tell us, Doc, let's start with you. Where can everybody find you, and how do they get a hold of you if they have a book they want you to edit for them?
Okay. You can always reach me on Facebook at Doc Fried, or Fried, as Angel always calls me. All lowercase, that's me, or at Abo Arts. It's short for Aboriginal Arts, ABOARTS.com.
Okay, Wendy, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Wendy Durison dash editor, or you can actually go to angryeaglepublishing.com, and I am on the staff there as senior editor.
Gosh, she's amazing.
Yes.
Yes, that's me.
Look, any lady that can handle my books and can deal with me and my horrific writing,
And
you
ask
need
for more.
and then like, okay, when's your next one coming? Girl, you deserve a damn trophy.
Just send chocolate. Just send chocolate.
Oh, I
Send
can do that. Angel, where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me on Amazon, Angel Ramon. Just type in on the search bar. You can find me on here on Facebook. You can find me on Patreon, Angel Ramon. And I am working on a new book for margaritas. That's on Patreon right now. Pina Canadas and Rats book 4 will be coming out March 1st. That's already all said and done. I'm excited for it, guys. So it's going to be the grand ending to that series. And yes, Jen, you will be getting your signed paperback.
You're amazing. I love you.
Awesome.
I know you do.
Well, guys, I am JL Folk, formerly Jen Amato, and you can find my series, The Group, on Amazon. I am also with Angry Eagle Publishing, so you can check me out there as well. I have a bio on there. You can also find me at jlfolkauthor.com. So if you need any further information, don't worry, get a hold of any of us. We're really accessible. We also have, if you if you have any further questions or you want to get on the show, check us out at book-asylum.com and, fill out the contact form so we can get you on the show or talk to you about any questions you may have, and we can connect you with these two wonderful ladies if you are looking for editors. So if you didn't jot down everything, but thank you, ladies, so much. It is time for us to go, and we really appreciate everybody who showed up. Alan, you're the GOAT, man. Thanks for the questions.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody have a great day
Mm-hmm.
from the Book Asylum podcast.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you, guys. Bye.